LSASS is probably one of the most touched processes by attackers. LSASS manages user authentications and user credentials, making it the key bearer of a Windows system. To help with dumping those credentials from LSASS, tools like Mimikatz, Sharpcuts, PyCats were created. All of those tools do the same thing. They create a memory dump of the process, then they parse that memory dump, and then they get the credentials from the hashes or the credentials. What happens though when dumping the LSASS, the LSASS memory process, is not allowed by a group policy? Welcome to my presentation. My name is Bleon, and I will be showing you how to bypass a GPO that prevents memory dump of a process and actually dump the credentials inside LSASS. First things first, why do we dump LSASS? As we said, LSASS contains the hashes and credentials depending on the version of the system or depending on the configurations of the registering of the Windows system. Those hashes or those credentials can be later on used on attacks like fuzzy hash, or in the case of hashes, we can try to crack them and then use them on other services. To allow an identity to create a memory dump of a process, a privilege called SeDebugPrivilege is needed. This privilege is managed by a local GPO, which by default only allows local administrators to have access to it. While doing some testing, found an article that said that if you remove privileges, the debug privileges, or if you just allow them to a specific user or group on a company, an attacker will not be able to dump the LSASS process, and therefore they will not be able to continue with this attack. And yes, it does work. When we modify the GPO to only allow domain administrators access to dump the process, and when we try to dump the process using a non-domain administrator, local administrator user, we are not allowed to do this. So, have we lost? Theoretically, yes. That GPO is a very good way of managing the privileges and access to LSASS, and also managing who can create memory dumps of processes. Mind you that GPO does not prevent an attacker from only creating memory dumps of LSASS. It prevents an attacker from creating memory dumps of every other process. So it will prevent an attacker from actually creating dumps for other processes that might be needed, even for custom systems that might have credentials stored in them or might have sensitive information stored in them, except for in one simple user. TrustedInstaller is one of those unique yet well-known resources in Windows that many people know about, but not many people look too much into. It is an identity, a built-in Windows user that has access to a lot of system files and service files. It's an owner on a lot of files, has full control on a lot of binary files, including, and not only to, LSASS binary file. It is managed through a service called TrustedInstaller, and unofficially by abusing the Windows tokens. So yes, we are allowed, and this is by design, this is a feature, to get access as TrustedInstaller. And that this user has been abused for a lot of reasons, one of which is stopping Windows Defender. Knowing this, trying all of this, the plan of attack then becomes modify the service using any tool that you like to dump the memory file, the memory of LSASS. I'm using COM SVCS, but anything can be used. Mimikatz can be used. Shortcuts can be used. You name it. Then starting the service, and by when the service is started, access as TrustedInstaller is given to the binary, which is now the tool that is dumping the LSASS process is given, and that access will actually allow for LSASS memory dump to be created. At this point, we can all agree that, well, TrustedInstaller knows too much and has too much access, and yes, we need to take it down. We need to remove it. What happens though when we try to remove the access that TrustedInstaller has on LSASS? Long story short, nothing much. Even when trying to prevent the or even when we remove the privileges that TrustedInstaller has on the LSASS binary and the LSASS process, it still is able to create a memory dump. Funny thing is, it doesn't even have privileges on the binary, nor it has privileges on the process. So it shouldn't be allowed to do it. Probably has something to do with the underlying Windows system that is supposed to have access to the. So TrustedInstaller is supposed to have access to other services for different reasons that TrustedInstaller is used. But anyway, yeah, as you are seeing here, that binary, that memory dump is still created. Now, on the previous demo, we used NTLM system privileges to modify the privileges that TrustedInstaller has on LSASS. NTLM system is the identity that runs LSASS. Funny enough, system in itself only has read and execute privileges, so theoretically it shouldn't have access to modify the permissions that TrustedInstaller has on that, on the binary and the process, but it still has. So, knowing this and knowing that system is the identity that is running LSASS, and knowing the system is basically the root of Windows, we try to do the same thing with system. So we try to dump the LSASS memory file when the GPO is applied, and yes, it still does work. So right now we are faced with two methods of dumping the memory, even though the GPO is applied and it's not supposed to allow it. So what method should the attackers use? Both will work. Both of them will work on different scenarios. For if you have a local administrator, right, tools like PSSA can be used to get access to system, and then, or another privilege escalation, there are many of them, can be used to get access as NTLM system, and then down the LSASS memory. This will trigger some alerts, because privilege escalations will, of course, mostly be known, and they, of course, will be tracked by the defenders. On the other hand, TrustedInstaller as the user and as a service is one of the most monitored resources in Windows. Even modifying TrustedInstaller as a service will trigger a warning, and modifying it with something that will dump LSASS will automatically be stopped by the by the antivirus. So a good way to achieve memory dump using TrustedInstaller is to do it by using Windows tokens. In the end, as I said, there are two ways to achieve the same thing. Both of them have their own drawbacks, and both of them have their own benefits. So everybody can use each one to their own benefits. The most important part is that none of them are limited by the GPO. Keynotes. First of all, trust any ECL, set up by Microsoft. They have a long history of not knowing how to manage their users' privileges very good. Just because something looks locked is not. We looked at two methods of achieving memory dump, even though it was not supposed to be allowed. Password dumping is an attack, is here to stay, and password dumping can also be escalated to other stuff like password cracking. Lastly, as I said, this technique, all of this as a technique, is not a bad way to set up security of LSASS or preventing tools like Mimikatz from being used. And this does work. It just doesn't work very well. So this topped with other security measures can be a good way of securing your own infrastructure against tools like, as I said, Mimikatz. But don't only rely on this technique as a good technique to prevent those tools. Again, thanks for watching this. If you managed to come this far, thanks for that. And if you have any questions, just try to contact me in any way, or just leave a comment down below. And see you all on Besides Athens.